The desperate transmission, the bioluminescent gardens of Aquaterra, pulsed with gentle waves of blue and silver light. As the Zephyrian children played among the coral spires, their translucent forms glided through the warm waters with graceful undulations, each movement creating ripples of color that spoke volumes to their empathic senses. This was how the Zephyrians had always communicated through light, through emotion, through the subtle harmonics that resonated through their aquatic world. Coral Singer watched the younglings from her research platform, her own chromatic flickering with contentment tinged by growing concern. As lead xenobiologist for the Zephyrian Deep Space Monitoring Institute, she had spent decades studying the faint signals that reached their world from the dark spaces between stars. Recently, those signals had taken on a disturbing pattern. "The silence is spreading," she murmured to her research partner, Current Trider, whose elderly form shimmered with patterns of deep contemplation. 17 systems have gone dark in the outer rim sectors. No distress calls, no final transmissions, just ... nothing. Current Trider's bioluminescence shifted to worried amber hues. The Council believes it may be natural phenomena, solar flares, perhaps, or gravitational anomalies disrupting communications. Coral Singer's response was a cascade of red urgency. Patterns, natural phenomena don't move in coordinated vectors. Something is systematically eliminating entire civilizations, and it's heading toward the core worlds. Their conversation was interrupted by a surge of panicked chromatophores from the emergency communication network. Every Zephyrian on Aquaterra suddenly blazed with alarm patterns as a message flooded their empathic senses. Ships, unknown ships, approaching fast through the transparent aluminum dome of her laboratory. Coral Singer looked up toward the surface where the first Void Syndicate vessels were beginning their descent. Unlike the organic curves and living materials of Zephyrian technology, these invaders were angular nightmares of black metal and pulsing red energy. Their very appearance spoke of a species that had abandoned all connection to the natural world. The lead ship, a massive dreadnought designated Harvester Prime by its mechanical crew, broke through Aquaterra's upper atmosphere with no attempt at communication. Its scanners analyzed the ocean world's biosphere with cold efficiency, cataloging every living organism as potential raw material for the Syndicate's endless expansion. Commander, Unit 2847 Delta, a cybernetic intelligence that had once been organic, before voluntary assimilation into the Void Syndicate's collective, processed the tactical data with mechanical precision. The indigenous life forms showed no military infrastructure, no defensive capabilities, no weapons of any kind. This would be a simple harvesting operation. Deploy extraction fleets to primary population centers. 2847 Delta transmitted to its subordinate units. Begin atmospheric processing in non-populated regions. Standard assimilation protocols for sentient organics. In the depths of Aquaterra's capital city, New Current, Elder Flowing Tide felt his ancient hearts breaking as he watched the first orbital bombardments through the city's sensor network. The Void Syndicate wasn't even trying to communicate. They were simply taking what they wanted, treating the Zephyrians like any other resource to be harvested. "Our evacuation ships can't break through their blockade," reported Admiral Deepcurrent, his military patterns flickering with desperation. "They have us completely surrounded. Every time we launch civilian transports, they're destroyed or captured." The Elder Council had gathered in the sacred chambers beneath the ocean floor, where bioluminescent organisms created a cathedral of living light. Here, surrounded by the accumulated wisdom of their ancestors, they faced the unthinkable reality of their species' extinction. There must be something, pleaded Counselor Bright Depths, her patterns cycling through every frequency of hope and despair, some alliance we can call upon, some treaty we can invoke. Elder flowing tides, chromatophores dimmed to almost nothing. We are a peaceful species, child. We have no military alliances because we have never needed them. Our greatest weapons are designed to heal coral reefs and redirect asteroid impacts away from inhabited worlds. It was then that Coral Singer entered the chamber, her patterns blazing with desperate urgency. Elders, there is one option. The precursor beacon. The entire council chamber fell into shocked darkness. The precursor beacon was a forbidden artifact, discovered in the deepest ocean trenches during the early days of Zephyrian civilization. Ancient beyond measure, it was a communication device left by a species that had vanished millions of years ago. Galactic Council law specifically prohibited its use because it broadcast on frequencies that reached beyond known space, into the dark regions where unknown and potentially hostile civilizations might dwell. You speak of madness, whispered Elder Tidewalker, his patterns wavering with fear. The beacon reaches into the void itself. We might summon something worse than our current invaders. Coral Singer's response was a nova of determination. Elders, with respect, how could anything be worse? In 6 hours, our species will be extinct. The Void Syndicate has already begun converting our children into cyberslaves. If there's even the smallest chance that someone out there might help us, it's our duty to try. The debate that followed was brief but intense. Through their empathic communication, the elders could feel the death of their civilization happening in real time. Every pulse of fear from the surface populations, every cry of anguish from parents watching their children disappear into syndicate processing centers, every final thought from Zephyrian defenders who died trying to protect the innocent with tools never meant for war. Very well, Elder Flowing Tide finally conceded, his ancient patterns heavy with the weight of absolute necessity. Activate the precursor beacon. May the depths forgive us if we bring doom upon some other innocent species. The beacon lay in the abyssal depths of Aquaterra's deepest trench, where the pressure would have crushed most species instantly. Coral Singer descended in a specially modified research vessel, her bioluminescent patterns providing the only light in the crushing darkness. The ancient device was beautiful in its alien architecture, crystalline structures that seemed to phase in and out of visible reality, surrounded by technologies that the Zephyrians had studied for centuries without truly understanding, as she activated the beacon with her people's access codes. Coral Singer began composing what might be her species' final message to the universe. Through the empathic resonance of her bioluminescence, she poured their entire history into the transmission, their evolution from simple ocean dwellers to starfaring beings, their discovery of empathic communication, their dedication to peace and harmony, their artistic achievements and scientific discoveries. To any beings capable of warfare who received this transmission, she spoke into the crystalline interface, her words being translated into universal mathematical concepts by the ancient technology. I am Coral Singer of the Zephyrian Republic. We are an aquatic species from the ocean world Aquaterra in the Tau Ceti system. We have never harmed another sentient being in our recorded history, but that peaceful nature has left us defenseless against the Void Syndicate. She paused as another wave of anguish reached her from the surface. An entire city had just been consumed by the mechanical invaders. They are converting our people into cybernetic slaves and stripping our world of all organic matter. We have perhaps 4 hours before complete extinction. We offer everything we have, our technology, our knowledge, our friendships, to any species capable of stopping this genocide. The transmission included their complete cultural database, star charts showing the syndicate's expansion pattern, and detailed biological scans of both Zephyrian physiology and the mechanical augmentations used by their enemies. As the beacon's power built to maximum output, Coral Singer felt her chromatophores drain to pale silver with exhaustion. Message transmitted across all precursor frequencies announced the ancient device in mathematical concepts that her mind translated automatically. Signal strength sufficient to reach the edge of the galactic disk. Estimated transmission time to outer territories, 73 hours. Coral Singer's patterns flickered with despair. Even if someone received their message and wanted to help, they had less than 4 hours before the Void Syndicate completed their harvest of Aquaterra. Far across the galaxy, in a region of space that most civilizations considered the frontier wastelands, the United Earth ship Vanguard drifted through the void between star systems. Captain Alina Rodriguez reviewed her patrol reports with growing frustration. Humanity had achieved faster-than-light travel only 5 years ago, and their exploration of the galactic community had yielded nothing but empty space and the occasional dead world. Captain, called Lieutenant Marcus Chen from the communications station, his voice tight with excitement. I'm picking up something unprecedented. A transmission on frequencies I've never seen before, carrying massive amounts of data. Dr. Sarah Kim, the ship's xenobiologist, rushed to the comm station as the signal resolved into comprehensible patterns. Alina, this is it. This is actual first contact. They're called Zephyrians. They're aquatic, and her voice trailed off as she processed more of the message. And they're dying, Rodriguez finished, reading over the doctor's shoulder, requesting military assistance from any species capable of warfare. She turned to her tactical officer. Lieutenant Hayes, what's our combat readiness? Full weapons and shields operational, Captain. But according to this data, they're facing over 200 enemy vessels. We're just one heavy cruiser. Rodriguez stared at the star charts included in the alien transmission. The Zephyrian system was 4 days away at maximum warp. Even if they left immediately, they would arrive too late according to the aliens' timeline. Captain, Dr. Kim said quietly, they're empathic communicators. I can feel the emotion embedded in this message. These beings have never experienced violence, never hurt another living thing. They're literally incapable of understanding the mindset needed for warfare. Rodriguez thought about her own species' history, the countless wars, the evolution from apex predators, the hard-won knowledge that sometimes violence was the only answer to greater violence. Humanity had spent millennia learning that lesson, usually the hard way. Open a channel to Earth Command, she ordered. Priority Alpha transmission. Captain, that will take 6 days to reach Earth, and another 6 for a response. Chen pointed out. I know. Send the message anyway. Tell them we've made first contact and are requesting immediate fleet support. She paused, her decision crystallizing, then set course for the Tau Ceti system, maximum warp. Ma'am, we'll be severely outgunned, Hayes warned. Rodriguez smiled grimly. Then we better make sure we're not fighting fair. Asterisk, the Deathworld responster. US Vanguard dropped out of warp at the edge of the Tau Ceti system to find a scene of organized devastation. The Void Syndicate had established a perfect blockade around Aquaterra. Their mechanical ships arranged in geometric patterns that spoke of hive mind efficiency. Through the gaps in their formation, Rodriguez could see The ocean world burning, or rather, being systematically converted into raw materials. Captain, I'm detecting massive energy signatures from the planet's surface, reported Sensors Officer Janet Torres. They're using some kind of molecular disassembly beam on the continental shelves. Dr. Kim's face went pale as she analyzed the syndicate ships. Alina, these aren't just invaders. They're a cybernetic collective. The energy patterns suggest they've assimilated organic species and converted them into hybrid machine intelligences. Rodriguez studied the tactical display, her predator instincts automatically cataloging weaknesses in the enemy formation. The Void Syndicate ships were positioned for maximum efficiency in harvesting operations, not for defense against an unexpected threat. They had arranged themselves like a spider web, perfect for catching escaping prey, but vulnerable to attacks from outside the web. "Hail the largest enemy vessel," she ordered. "Let's see if we can buy some time." The response came immediately. Commander Unit 2847 Delta's face appeared on the main screener. Horrifying fusion of organic features and cybernetic implants. When it spoke, its voice was emotionless mechanical precision, overlaid with the barely audible whispers of its assimilated minds. "Unknown vessel, you will state your purpose and depart immediately. This system is now property of the Void Syndicate. This is Captain Elena Rodriguez of the United Earth ship Vanguard," she replied, standing straight despite the horror of what she was seeing. "We're here in response to a distress call from the indigenous population. Withdraw your forces immediately." 2847 Delta processed this information with cold calculation. Earth, species unknown, single vessel detected. Your intervention is irrelevant. You will depart or be assimilated. Rodriguez smiled, and there was something in that expression that would have warned any human to be very careful. "We're not going anywhere, and we're not alone." It was a complete bluff. The Vanguard was the only human ship within 50 light-years. But 2847 Delta didn't know that, and humans had learned long ago that psychological warfare was often more effective than raw firepower. The cybernetic commander began scanning the system for additional Earth ships, diverting processing power from the harvesting operations. This gave Captain Rodriguez the opening she needed. "All hands, battle stations. Hayes, I want firing solutions on their command ships. Chen, try to establish contact with any surviving Zephyrians. Dr. Kim, analyze their ship configurations and find me weaknesses." Deep beneath Aquaterra's ravaged surface, Coral Singer felt her chromatophores flicker with impossible hope as her communication equipment detected the human transmission. The alien voice was strange, harsh consonants that spoke of vocal cords, evolved for warning calls across dangerous terrain, but the emotion behind it was unmistakable. Protective rage. "Current Rider, are you analyzing this?" She called to her research partner. "These beings, they're responding to our distress call, but their biological markers suggest they evolved as predators." Current Rider's patterns shifted through spectrums of amazement and fear. "More than predators," Coral Singer. "According to their transmitted data, they evolved on a world with gravity twice our own, temperature variations that would kill us in minutes, and atmospheric conditions that would be toxic to most known species. They're from what the galactic community calls a death world. The first human attack came without warning and from an impossible angle. Lieutenant Commander Alex Rivera led a squadron of fighters that had launched from the Vanguard's hidden position behind Aquaterra's largest moon. The Void Syndicate ships, detected the incoming missiles too late to mount an effective defense. But what truly shocked the cybernetic collective was how the humans fought. Instead of the formal battle formations used by most civilized species, the human fighters scattered in seemingly random directions, using Aquaterra's debris field and the wreckage of Zephyrian ships as cover. They attacked from above, below, and behind, coordinating through rapid bursts of communication that the Syndicate's predictive algorithms couldn't decipher. Unit 3921, Gamma reports severe damage from unexpected attack vector. 2847 Delta processed. Human fighters are not following standard tactical protocols. That was because human tactical protocols had been developed fighting other humans, beings who would sacrifice everything to protect their own kind, who would turn any available object into a weapon, who considered fighting fair to be a contradiction. In terms when pilot Sarah Martinez's fighter took critical damage from a Syndicate pulse cannon, her response was typically human. Instead of ejecting or retreating, she pointed her crippled craft at the nearest enemy vessel and engaged her engines. "Martinez, what are you doing?" Rivera called out. "My weapons are gone and my shields are down," she replied with deadly calm. "But I've still got momentum and about 2 tons of high explosives in my fuel tanks." The resulting explosion took out not only her target, but damage to adjacent Syndicate vessels. To the cybernetic collective, this was incomprehensible. The logical being would sacrifice itself when survival was possible. But humans weren't purely logical beings, they were pack hunters who would die to protect their extended family. As the space battle raged above, Captain Rodriguez received an incoming transmission from the ocean world below. The face that appeared on her screen was unlike anything she had ever seen, translucent, graceful, with large eyes that seemed to hold depths of ancient kindness. When it spoke, its voice was like water flowing over smooth stones. "Unknown protector beings, I am Coral Singer of the Zephyrian Republic. Your response to our call for help has given us hope beyond measure, but you face impossible odds. The Void Syndicate has over 200 vessels." Rodriguez studied the alien scientist, noting the exhaustion in her bioluminescent patterns and the desperation in her large eyes. "Coral Singer, this is Captain Rodriguez. We received your message and we're here to help. But I need you to understand something about my species. We evolved as persistence hunters on a death world. We don't give up, and we don't abandon our pack, your pack." Coral Singer's chromatophores flickered with confusion. "You called for help. That makes you part of our pack now." Dr. Kim had been analyzing the Zephyrian technology while the conversation continued. "Captain, their defensive systems are incredibly advanced, designed for healing and protection rather than destruction. If we could adapt their shield technology to our weapon systems, do it," Rodriguez ordered, "and prepare for emergency transport. We're going to need allies who know this system." The first human Zephyrian encounter took place in the Vanguard's medical bay, hastily reconfigured with water-filled chambers to accommodate aquatic visitors. When Coral Singer first saw Captain Rodriguez in person, her empathic senses were overwhelmed by the human's emotional spectrum, protective instincts layered with tactical thinking, compassion mixed with controlled aggression, and underneath it all, the rock-solid determination of a species that had never learnt to surrender. "Your people confuse me," Coral Singer admitted through the translation device. "Every scan we've taken shows you evolved as apex predators, yet you risk your lives to save strangers." Rodriguez considered this carefully. "My species learned something important during our evolution. The strongest predators aren't the ones who hunt alone. They're the ones who protect their pack. When you sent that distress call, you became part of our pack. But we can offer you nothing in return. Coral Singer's patterns shifted to shame blue. We are a peaceful species. We have no weapons, no military knowledge to share. Dr. Kim stepped forward, her tablet displaying the integrated scan results. Actually, you have exactly what we need. Your shield technology is centuries ahead of ours. If we can combine your defensive capabilities with our weapons systems, we might have a chance. The next few hours saw an unprecedented collaboration between species. Zephyrian engineers worked alongside human technicians, their empathic communication, allowing them to share concepts that would have taken hours to explain verbally. The resulting hybrid technology was unlike anything either species had created independently. The breakthrough came when engineered deep currents suggested adapting their healing beam technology for offensive use. We use these frequencies to encourage cellular regeneration in damaged coral reefs, he explained, his patterns cycling through technical specifications. But if you reverse the polarity, it becomes a weapon that breaks down cellular cohesion. Finished Chief Engineer Lisa Park, her eyes lighting up with understanding. These frequencies would be devastatingly effective against cybernetic implants. Meanwhile, the Void Syndicate was learning that humans were unlike any species they had previously encountered. Traditional assimilation protocols assumed that organic beings would surrender when faced with superior numbers and firepower. But humans seemed to become more dangerous when cornered. Lieutenant Hayes had taken command of the Vanguard's weapons systems and was systematically destroying Syndicate vessels using tactics that defied all conventional military theory. Instead of engaging the enemy fleet directly, he targeted their support ships' fuel carriers, mobile repair stations, communication relays. Each destroyed support vessel weakened the entire Syndicate formation. Their pattern of attack suggests intimate knowledge of logistics-based warfare. 2,847 Delta reported to its collective. These beings have extensive experience with prolonged military campaigns. What the collective didn't understand was that humanity's military experience came from millennia of warfare against other humans' opponents who were just as intelligent, just as ruthless, and just as willing to break any rule to achieve victory. Fighting the Void Syndicate was almost refreshing by comparison. The tide of battle turned when the combined human-Zephyrian technology came online. The modified healing beams, when fired through human targeting systems, proved devastatingly effective against cybernetic organisms. The Syndicate's assimilated crew members began experiencing massive system failures as their organic and mechanical components were forced apart at the cellular level. But the real shock came when the surviving Zephyrian population, inspired by their human allies' willingness to fight for them, began to overcome their peaceful nature. Using their own technology in ways they had never imagined, they started disrupting Syndicate communications through precise harmonic interference and trapping enemy ships in gravity wells generated by their terraforming equipment. The organic defenders are exhibiting unprecedented aggressive behavior. 2,847 Delta processed with growing confusion. They are adapting peaceful technologies for warfare at an accelerating rate. Commander Unit 2847. Delta's final transmission was a request for reinforcements that would never come. The Vanguard's combined human-Zephyrian weapons systems had made the Syndicate's central coordination impossible, and without their hive-mind connection, the individual ships were no match for coordinated resistance. As the last Void Syndicate vessel fled the Tau Ceti system, Captain Rodriguez found herself in the unique position of having established humanity's first interstellar alliance through combat. The Zephyrians, despite their peaceful nature, had proven themselves willing and capable of fighting when protecting the innocent. Captain Rodriguez, Coral Singer's patterns now showed deep respect mixed with genuine affection. Your species has given us more than just survival. You have shown us that strength can be used to protect rather than destroy. Rodriguez smiled, thinking about the message she would send back to Earth. Coral Singer, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. And when word gets out about what happened here, every peaceful species in the galaxy is going to want humans as allies. 6 months later, the first interspecies protection treaty was signed between Earth and 17 member worlds of the Peaceful Alliance. Humanity's reputation as guardian Deathworlders had spread throughout the galactic community, carried by grateful species who had learned that the most dangerous predators could also be the most protective friends. The galaxy, it turned out, had been waiting for someone willing to fight for those who couldn't fight for themselves. And in the depths of space, more distress calls were already being transmitted toward Earth, carrying the hopes of the innocent and the desperate plea. Please, send the humans.